Applause. We do have 3 generations of book authors in our family. My mother-in-law, Honorable Rhoda Kalema, who is one of the first female parliamentarians in Uganda and an icon in our country's history, has published her book, which is called My Life is But a Weaving. At the same time, my wife, Dr. Gladys Kalema Zikusoka, has published A Walking with Gorillas, and our son, Indigo James William Zikusoka, has published an award-winning gold medal Moonbeam Award Zookeeper for a Week in 2022. Applause, please. So I guess it's my turn, right?
Go for it.
Notwithstanding, earlier in the week, Dr. Gladys and Indigo were on live TV, MBS Breeze. How many of you had a chance to tune in to that? Thank you very much. But more recently, in the historical past, Dr. Gladys and I have been doing book signing events. We started in March 2023 in the US, then we moved to the UK. That's both England and Scotland, followed by Uganda, South Africa, even Japan, Kenya, Rwanda, and most recently in Switzerland. I want to ask if anyone listened to the TV Monde interview that was on the 30th of May. Thomas, tout va bien? C'est bon, merci. So I would now like to mention Jackie Asimwe, a renowned author and advocate, who's also published her book, which is called Facing Mountains. We're so thrilled to have you interviewing the 3 generations of authors today. And so, apart from that, I'd like to address and acknowledge all the people that have made this event possible, starting with not only Aristotle Bookstore, thank you very much, Kathy Curator, who mentored our son Indigo to write this book, his book, Zookeeper for a Week. And of course my mum, Sarah Zikusoka. Dako, please stand up for recognition. My sister-in-law, Dr. Veronica Kalema, please stand up for recognition. And our young son, Tendo Zikusoka, please stand up for recognition. And in the back there is Juko Kayondo. Thank you very much, my nephew as well. Of course, none of this could be possible without Uganda Wildlife Authority. I recognize the former ED of Uganda Wildlife Authority, Dr. Akbagisha, please stand up. And of course, we're working very closely with Entebbe Zoo. We like to call it the Uganda Wildlife Conservation Education Center. Any representative from UWIC, please stand up. Well, they gave Indigo the opportunity to go behind the scenes to be a junior zookeeper for a week at that time, when he was 13 and he published when he was 16. So last but not least, we have a huge team behind us that is from conservation to public health. Guys, thank you very much for pulling this off. Also, our social enterprises, Gorilla Conservation Coffee and Gorilla Conservation Camp. Learn more about that outside. And I'd like to also recognize Cosmos. Cosmos, you're here in the back. Cosmos Matembe, who's recently published a book, Graduation. It's available here at Aristotle in the front. Yay! So, in my closing remarks, we really appreciate all the hard work that has gone into promoting the books, creating awareness about the plight of mountain gorillas and other wildlife, and the importance of documenting these experiences. Enjoy today's event, guys. 3 generations of book authors, signers.
Thank you so much, Lawrence. So, and without further ado, we shall turn now to our 3 authors. Just to make sure our mics are working, I haven't, sorry, check that. And for the crew, I think I can use this one, right? have to use them for the online audience so that they can hear us. Okay, so when one is on, the rest of us have to be off so that we doesn't create feedback. So Diego, I will start with you, the youngest of the generation. What was it? What do you feel like right now? Before I go into the book, what are you feeling right now? Sitting here, yes, starting with him, sitting here with your mom and grandma, and talking about 3 generations of writers in your family.
It's a very special occasion because this doesn't happen a lot. 3 generations of authors, especially in Uganda, in Africa, we don't write as much, but we managed to pull off something like this, and I think it's something different and special.
Mama, I'll ask you the same, Mama Rhoda. What does it feel like? What are you feeling like sitting here today with your daughter on one side and your grandson on another side? 3 generations of you in one family. What are you feeling?
I'm extremely grateful and humbled to see so many of you here. And I'm so thankful to my daughter, Jackie. I call her my daughter. I'm not going to beat her now. Although when we were launching her book 2 weeks ago, her mother was surprised to see that how she was alone in the maternity. She didn't know there were 2 other mothers around her. But she has proved to be my daughter, and she's accepted it. I'm so grateful for all of you. I'm pleased to see my co-mother, which is Sarah Jacob here. I'm so pleased to see so many of you here somewhere reminding me they have seen me before, and 2 ladies there. I was really surprised to hear to get a message from Jackie, my friend Gladys, that Jackie wanted to celebrate a 3 generation of writers. So I had to. I didn't expect it to be a big boom. I'm so pleased, definitely, that my daughter, I'm so thankful to her, that my daughter has reached the book. I'm also thankful to her older sister, who supervised the creating, the editing, and everything that the book needs in Nairobi by Moran. Can we please stand up? He took on all the necessary work to see that the book is finally published and reach us here. Now, I suppose I'll be ready to say more later. But for now, I'm extremely grateful that I'm here to explain what Jack is ready to ask me. Thank you.
Thank you. Gladys, over to you. What are you feeling, and how did this idea come about? When did it strike you that actually we're 3? Let's do something?
I'm really excited. I'm so happy because actually when my book was coming out, my publisher in America contacted Aristoc, and I remember I think Lydia said to me, I came to the Aristoc and I said, I'm publishing a book, can it be sold here? He says, oh, your publisher's already contacted me, targeted to reach Uganda. And then she said to me, but actually your mother's book and your son's book are doing really well. Why don't you do a joint book event? And this was like around February 2023. Then the book came out in March 2023, but it took so long to get to Uganda. We got to Uganda in June, finally. And so we had to first launch it in America, UK, before we could launch it in Uganda. And then Indigo traveled, and Mama was busy. But then finally I said, let's do it now, because Indigo was about to go to university in America. And I said, and Mama's 95. We praise God that she's made it, and she's strong and ready to be here for her book launch, her book event. And so that's what we decided to do. And I remember, like, actually, Indigo's book and Mama's books were launched during COVID pandemic, when there were lockdowns, restricted numbers, and so it was hard to really hold a big event. Yeah, so in fact with Indigo's, we were only about 20, because they were really stopping gatherings of more than 20. And I remember with Mama's, Jackie also interviewed her, there were only about 60 people. The hotel could not allow more than that, especially because of her age. So they never really had that opportunity to have a big book launch like I did last year at the museum and some hotels. So Aristoc, we're so grateful that you're enabling us to hold the 3 generation of author book event over here. And it's an opportunity also for Indigo and Mama's books to receive more publicity. And I think the NBS interview was incredible. Indigo, you're fantastic. Your first debut on television, everybody was very excited about you. And thank you all so much for coming. It's wonderful to have you all here. And yes, it's great that so many more people are reading and writing. As you said, Jackie, you'd come in here, you only see books from people in other countries. But now you're seeing so many books from Ugandans, people based in Uganda. Kathy has written so many children's books. She mentored Indigo to write his books. We're seeing more and more books. Judy, I know yours were among the earlier ones. Judy Kimani has also written. And we need to get more books. We need to keep writing. Yes, because actually I think it will get Ugandans to start reading, because they'd rather read about people who they know or who they can relate to. So hopefully this will translate to better literacy in the country in general, a better reading culture. Thank you so much. Sorry about that. Thank you so much, Gladys.
Now back to you, Dagon. Can you tell us, it's one thing to go to the zoo and have an experience, but what made you write about it? What made you do a book?
So it started off as I was off from football for a while because of growth spurt. So I couldn't play for like 6 months. Then during that time I was free. My mom organized because she's a board member of Uganda Wildlife Authority. So I went to the zoo for a week. It was one experience every day. I was there with different zookeepers working in different parts of the zoo, like mammals, reptiles. And then at the end of each day, I would write about how the day went. And then at the end of the week, I was going home, and then I remember my dad suggested, I think after discussing with my parents, that if he could go into the Toto magazine. So it took about 3 weeks to write that, and then we published it in the Toto magazine. Then I believe it was Miss Kathy Creator who saw the article and thought it could be a good book, because she wrote many books, children's books, so I think she knew what she was doing there. So we started the project of making a book, and it took about 2.5 years. Yeah.
Thank you so much. Thank you so much for taking us, behind the scenes and the process that led you to write the book. Mama, how about you? Because there are many people who are politicians, who are in the women's movement, but we don't all write. What led you to put your story in writing? And the reason, if memory serves me well, it's also not your first book. So what led you to writing in general?
I don't know how to start. I just felt that I should finally write. For a long time, I've been very much interested. I tend, or maybe my habit, to write down when I listen to a talk, when I listen to someone. And normally I just find myself writing something down. The message, I found so many in my notebooks, which I contained with notebooks here, about the sermon which I've been listening to the minister in Seattle many years ago. It talks, and I think sometimes to write down. And one day I said, I think I should put this, I should write this down. But actually even before that, when my husband was made to disappear, in January 20, 1972, one of our friends, Mary Clocker, in England, she, among the Gregorius messages I received from many friends, I'll mention one, there are so many which are already put in that. By the way, I'm writing this biography now. We pray that within the next 2 months or so, it will be out for publication. Dr. Ruben Nabuya of Makerere University is assisting me with it. Now, she said you must write William's life before, because my memory is still fresh. That's stuck in my mind. And so I continue to write the book down, whatever I need to put down. And at the same time, I wanted to write about my life and his life. A lot of it is in my book. We have a whole chapter about his death. So I thought that I could write too. And also, I couldn't, she was 2, when husband disappeared. She was 7. And their older brother was 11, and the other older one had just reached, was still completing certain, it is A level at Bulu, and the older 2, one was already at university. Yeah. Her mother, his mother, my eldest sister, my late sister, Duke there, was at Nairobi University. And Dr. William Kalima, many of you can have him, but he was here, was at Cambridge University. I couldn't write both later. I couldn't start to write both notes. I continued to believe I should really write my life. The more I went through, the more experiences I went through, as many of you have seen in my book, I thought I should write. So I started to write. But I got so busy. As I got involved, what they call politics, but I call building the country. I call building the country. Politics has got a connotation which shows now something you think is just fighting. But anyway, once I got in the administration, I prefer to go to the administration. To see whether the country can be a little bit better than the building in its time where he believed he could even make up the Archbishop disappear, the Governor Bank of Uganda disappear, Chief Justice disappear, Vice Chancellor Makerere disappear, and to him it was a normal thing. And many of but it means that who are in the government, I don't call it about the government, but who was in the past government who independent, who did it run away. I thought, no, it is necessary that I write down. Let me write down. I could write both books. Let me start with mine. So I started gradually. Then I was got so busy. The manuscript was put to rest. Then I became so busy. And the more I was in government, I decided to represent the district. And as you maybe have wrote in my book, in the book. And I got so much involved and interested. By the way, Kibuga is where William Kano was born. And we had already settled there. He very much wanted to build a house there. His home is his home area. And he had, so I had to see and keep that home as a family home forever, as his memory, in his memory, and for my children to know that their home, their father's home, or their father is no longer around. And I found myself seeing that I developed the people there. I found myself developing them. For me, maybe it should be for all of us to know here. It's much better for us, for you and me, if the people around you are also are not too low for you. They should to develop. When others are also develop, as would like to be like you, then you must lift them up. And so the more I enter, the more I was involved in government. I was in the NCC, they call it NCC, National Consultative Council, the first parliament after President Museveni won the war and the Amin was chased away. Then another one came, National Resistance Council. I also offered myself to be it. And then during the National Resistance Council, it was decided to make a new constitution because destroyed the constitution. As you may know, you may read, you were not born yet, but they abolished parliament. There was no more parliament, and even Uganda was no longer. Even Uganda was no longer in the Common Parliamentary Association, Parliamentary Association for the Commonwealth. So Uganda was entirely in the Council of Amin. But as it was resurrected, it was to be resurrected by starting with the Constitution. And I took part in making the Constitution. And by making the Constitution, I thought that was, I had done my job, my duty, and then I had more time to my family, and then that's when I started to pick up writing, starting my book, and I started to, later on, I started to feel I should add this in the book. The more I got interested in what I was doing, the more I said, I think I should write this down. I should put this down. Until I found myself with so much material, I said, no, let me start to write. And in many books I've seen. But actually, behind all that, I've been reading. I stopped the reading history in my J3 in 1944. That was when I was in J3. I finished for it good. In my senior 3 years, I took a commercial course, which didn't include much of the reading. Typing, shorthand, bookkeeping. This is not to boast, but I believe I was the first woman to touch a typewriter in Uganda. This is because Kisubi and Nabinyango and St. Samuel Tobu, where and in Navumali, where they were put in schools, some of them which had a commercial courses, didn't have girls. So, and in fact, when I decided to take a commercial course, the headmaster, Mr. Herbert, had to ask my father whether he would allow me to take a commercial course because it was unusual. The other girls above me, like Sarah Antiro, was above me, and had got Makerere, and Catherine Sankatuka's mother, Bob Shonubi, none of them had done a commercial course. My father agreed. So, but later on in life, I started to like reading. When I went to Britain to do social science course, I don't want to make a long story. After we had our 3 children, and all 3 children were born, and I followed my husband who had got a Gambon scholarship in Edinburgh. Then I think that's where I developed to read history. I started to love to read history. History became something I would like. Anything that happened in the past, I started to like to read it, to know it. And I think, because for me I did a social studies course. And in the social studies course, I learned a lot more of reading the past, and to know that without reading, if what you've known was not written, what I read was not written before, and so many few people will be able to know how life can be. Perhaps we don't realize, but we must read what we must read so that we may register the knowledge to pass on to other people. That's why the people in the past were able to read and to write and to read. Of course, they read what was written. For instance, well, we can say all the quotations we read about. For you who are reading books, there's something that came across saying, "What is not written didn't happen," and I think we agree. Yes. What is not written didn't happen, and that's correct. And also, for this great man back or someone else, I've been trying to check on that, but I didn't have the time to do so. But it could be him who said, if we don't know where you come from, you'll never know where you are going. You'll never know where you are, and you won't know where you go. We must know where we have come from, and I think it's that interested me so much to know the history. We wouldn't know if the man called Jerome didn't take trouble to translate the Bible from Greek to Hebrew, and from Hebrew later on it was translated, and finally we have it in English. We wouldn't know. So that it is important that there must be people who should write to pass on to the second generation, or else the people will not be able to know how the past was and what to do next. And it is that interested me, and that's when I had to write. But to write my book, I'm sorry, Martin Luanga is not here. He's in Arusha, being appointed in Arusha. He has got an assignment there since early last year, I think. Whenever I would tell people about my life, they would say, "But have you written a book?" I said, "Not yet." Then we in a normal talk with other people. "But have you written a book?" I buy a copy. write a book and I buy a copy. Then finally I started to dig up my manuscripts, my notes which I had written down and kept in the study. Said maybe I should start to write. And maybe there's something in me that I should really need to write. And when I did that, everything resurrected in my mind. And so I think I should write. But again, in 2002, there was a conference, World Women Conference, which was to be at Makerere. It had been started and it was the first time it was coming to Uganda every 3 years. And I attended. Now she's a doctor, but I've forgotten her name. But she works at Makerere. Bantelia, yeah, that is. Yes, Bantelia. Allowed, said, will you give a paper? We can give a paper at this conference. So I planned a paper, and I gave a paper there. And in that conference, which I enjoyed very much, for 3 years, about 5 days, about 5 days conference. There are sessions, as you know, in conferences, there are sessions. And I went in this session, one session of how to write, what people can read. One lady was teaching in that session about that, which I attended. And I remember the emphasis that what you write, even if it is painful and challenging, it must be put in the book. That it is that which will make a book interesting. Don't write only that good things about yourself or about whatever you are writing. Write anything that's challenging. If it's challenging, you put it down. If it's painful, put it down. So that people know that the life you've gone through, if you are writing a biography of yourself, about yourself, what you are going through, the other people are maybe also they are going through the same situation, and gives them comfort to know they are not the only one who are going through this. So I continued. I appreciated that, and I continued to decide to write. Now, if I may cut the story short a bit. Later in 2010, I had heard about people, Israel street, people going on pilgrimage to Israel. Some of you maybe have been. But I had not been able to go. But I used to talk to my son that one day maybe I would like to go to Israel. So one day he found that there was a team which he was going there, he was being led by the Christians for Israel, by Mr. Kabondi. I have the book here. All these are books which I have bought and read. His book is here. And I registered. He said you can go. I registered, and I went to Israel. I was able to go to Israel. The team, we went on the 20th of March, for 8 days, and we came back on the 29th. March 10. When I came back, I would tell people about Israel. And then they say, some will say, but those people who killed Jesus, can they really continue? Are they still people who love God who killed Jesus? People will ask all sorts of questions because we killed many, we visited many sites. So one day I said, let me, as I said it here, I said it, I think in my book, because I mentioned the Israel trip. I decided to publish this in 2010 and get some pictures. Fortunately, in that team we were about international praying for Israel, the pavement for Israel. So in that book, in that team, Mr. Kanabo, they decided to, I think they normally do, take a team of the camera team, which took also for many photographs. In fact, they took about 100. And so when we came back, and I was talking to people, so I said in the end, no. Because as I told you, I was writing each day we visited. I say on this day, for instance, on each date, please just read this. Can't see it well. On the 21st of March, after breakfast, then we visited Jaffa Institute. Right? So every day I would write what we had visited. Every day I would write what we had visited, because and we visited also the Salmon on the Mount, and there's the church, and we visited the church, which is called the Beatitude Church. And this lady is looking at the one of the steps on the stones where one of the verses is written. So I decided to write this, and I got a publisher who published it. I got out many copies actually. I sent a certain number to Uganda Bookstore and to Bible Society and to my church, St. Stephen's. But unfortunately, not many people like to buy it. So I collected them back after a long time, and I started to give them away. I may have that. I gave many to the clergy, many of the clergy who unfortunately, as you may know, with all this, with all my, you can't really do as much, but they were pleased to see the pictures, to see Nazareth.
No, like you put it.
And to see the Nazareth, and to see Bethlehem, people who went there. So, that gave me an impetus again to be able to start writing my book. And one would ask her about it. I spoke to Elizabeth, and many Elizabeth, California. Unfortunately, I gave her a warning because she was too busy, but she had hoped to be able to come. She helped me for 4 years, because she followed me for 4 years, and she was extremely helpful. So with Elizabeth and Veronica in Nairobi, and Mr. Kivuka, there was also Mr. Kivuka, Robert Kivuka, who also is very much interested in writing, helping writers. He's also not here. So we started to send titles for my book to Nairobi. I remember we sent a title like My Journey, My Life. I can't remember many of them now here. But one thing I remember, they say there's many books of that title. There are many books of My Journey. There are many books with the title My Life. And there are until I was looking in my, I have this, and as I told you, I seem to keep small things when I see something interesting. I think I have kept this for over 20 years in my bag. It's even dirty. It's even dirty. And it says, the weaver, Samuel the weaver, my life is but a weaving between my Lord and me. So, finally, after they did it like any of the other, they were not much interest. I said some of them are very common. Some of the others were not really fitting in the story or which they have written of 20 chapters. Possibly, a couple of 20 chapters. And when we sent this one, they said, this is the one. They liked it. Because as they believed my life was a weaving. And our lives, all of us, my dear, is a weaving. Because all of us, our lives have got some blues, white and red and black. Okay, have got some black, some white, some yellow. Some interesting and very exciting life, and then some very sad issues, some very sad experiences. I'll tell you this story. There's a story. What is this? I've forgotten that song of the man. Dan Semabili to sing it a lot in the church. Forgotten, but this I remember later on. I will recall. This is the man who wrote this song, which is normally written in the book. Because so much I have to remember and tell you, but I'll tell you this. This man had his wife, and in the end, he composed this theme also a song. It is well with my soul. It is well. My life is what you call it. Jenny, my life is, it is well, it is well, it is well. When I read in there our daily guide, which I read daily bread. I read daily bread. A 1 year book, small book, spiritual book, and it is in that book I read about the story of this man whose 4 children had gone on a trip. They were in America. They had gone on a trip, and on the trip there was a lot of maybe storm, and all the 4 sons died. Their daughter was staying with him and his wife in America. Then after some time, his daughter wanted to go climbing. Their daughter, after some years, wanted to go climbing. She also died. No, I think the mother wanted to. Yes, she also died. And somehow his wife wanted to go and find out about something, or to go and travel. And she also died in the storm, in the sea. So he composed that hymn also. It is well, it is well, it is well. My life is but a quarter. You know it when it's sung in the church. So I say to myself, so is the pain and challenges can make people create what other people can all the time be able to learn from. And this is what is so Because our lives, that is correct, that our life is really a weaving. It's like a carpet, a woven carpet. Looks much better than this plain. This is a plain white, a plain green, or plain a plain color. A plain black, a plain color. It's not as good as a woven color, a woven carpet, as you can imagine. As you know, the woven carpet is more beautiful than a plain carpet. So our lives is like a woven carpet. We all have gone and will be going and go through we have the black and the white, and we have the yellow and the pink. And so this man who composed this must have, if you look, Veronica, what did they find out about who wrote this?
This is still
Unknown.
Yes.
And for the didn't believe the name, unknown. But fortunately, to show that the publishers loved this title, is it page 117 or 171? In this book, they printed their whole poem. And in fact, my small book has got only 4 verses, but in the book there are 5. So we need to look it up in the internet, and they were able to get the full story. But still, the writer was unknown. The writer is unknown. But it has, if you go through it, you look through it, you will just see that it is really describing our lives, all of us, our lives. One thing perhaps, before I think I could stop, I thought I wasn't going to be able to say more. But here I have, I'd like to say, pardon? Question? Yes, I'd like to tell you that this is a little bit, anyway, after 15 years, we decided, 15 years, we decided to remember my husband, their father, and we were able to get a lot of, some of it short messages and pictures of his life. And in 1917, we were able to celebrate my father with my grandchildren, with a lot of his grandchildren, my nieces and nephews, and we were able to write about his life, short life. We planned, and I'm begging my nephews and nieces to write a fuller when we're still around. It's my sister, Janet, who is the one who has helped us a lot. She was a writer, she was a teacher, but she wrote many books. My real life experience. This also gave me a lot of encouragement. She was a teacher, and she's the mother. She's one of the founders of Green Hill. There are 2 sisters, my younger sister and my older sister. That's Wambuzi and herself. She wrote her experience from 1924 to 1986. All this gave me a lot of encouragement. I think I should stop here now.
Thank you so much, Mama Rhoda. And Gladys, I'll come to you. What inspired you to write? And can you also read us something from your book, one of your favorite passages?
I was Mama, thank you for that very long, that very long answer, response to Jackie, which brought up so many things. But as Mama said, she's led a very rich life, and our lives have been. My sister always said that, we may have had a privileged life, but it's been traumatic. So it's not been an easy life. Nancy always tells me that. But I felt like I had so many experiences that I wanted to share. Mama let me do what I wanted. I was one of those kids who I'm like, I want to do this, Mama lets me do it. It wasn't about you have to do this, you have to do that. And so because I grew up with a lot of pets at home, I really like animals. They became my friends. And later on I decided I wanted to become a vet. And later on, after having set up a wildlife club in my high school, I think some people from wildlife clubs are here, in Chibuli Secondary School, I felt like I wanted to become a wildlife vet. And so I started my veterinary studies in the UK. And I got to meet people who influenced me, I think, quite early in my journey. I got to meet a lady called Dr. Jane Goodall. How many of you have met her? She's very famous. But during my vet school, I got a chance to listen to her talks. And what impressed me so much was her love for the chimpanzees, but also she had written. So I went and bought one of her books, and she was so excited to see me. I went there together with my sister, Veronica, and we were the only two Africans in the room, so of London. And she said to me, come and visit me in Gombe National Park. And so in my mind I thought, okay, this is somebody who not only are they working with wildlife, but they're also writing. So then I got an opportunity to start working at the Wildlife Authority, which used to be the National Parks and then Wildlife Authority, as their first veterinarian, their first veterinary doctor. And that was a very interesting experience. I convinced Dr. Droma, who was the ED of the National Parks, that you need a vet, and this is what a vet does. Having spent a month in Gwindi with the mountain gorillas, it was such an amazing experience. But I was concerned that they were passing their disease from people, and their habitat was being cut. So I felt maybe I really should become a full-time wildlife vet straight away, instead of first studying, first getting a job in the UK as a vet, where I did my training, and eventually coming to Uganda. So I started this journey. And while I was at the Wildlife Authority, Dr. Atamugisha can remember, I was considered a bit strange because people never used to touch wild animals. So they were like, so why are you going to treat that animal? It's dying of old age. The warthog is the next thing for the lion. Otherwise the lion will starve, which is true. If two gorillas are fighting, you shouldn't intervene because it's time for one to take over the group, and you're messing around with natural selection. You're promoting bad genes in an already endangered population. There are lots of arguments back and forth, whether or not I should intervene. But so there was a lot of one whole year of explaining what I'm supposed to be doing, and people understanding, yeah, actually, for example, if gorillas are so endangered, and if you don't treat them and they're already being disrupted by people, you could lose them. And then Dr. Droma asked me to move elephants, because now we have a vet. Instead of killing these two elephants in Mubende, which are destroying people's crops, let's move them. So I'm like, okay. I'd never, obviously, in vet school, I was taught to treat cats, dogs, horses, cows. Now moving an elephant. Wow. A 5-ton animal. So I had that, and eventually we worked it out with the vets from Kenya Wildlife Service who were having a lot of translocations. I got some training there, and I thought that was a very unique experience. And not only did we move the elephants, like they did in Kenya, where they had a very good capture team. For us, we didn't have a capture team. I just went with 2 rangers to Kenya, and I took them with me for the translocation. Onen was a very well-known ranger, taught many people to identify birds, including the National Park, and Emmanuel Kaheru, and somehow we worked with Clem Konsia, an animal capture expert from Zimbabwe, Peter Muller, who was a German warden, and we moved these elephants with the community. And so I thought, this is really interesting, Basically, when the small aircraft landed, having identified where the elephants were, we were supposed to clear the road. But everybody was fascinated to see an aeroplane. No one got off the road. Even the police were supposed to chase people away. So I had to come and chase everybody away from the road so the aeroplane could land. Then when the helicopter landed, everyone wanted to be near it. The blades are gonna cut them. It was crazy. So we ended up doing so many things. And I thought that was a really unique experience, translating elements to the community. Then we moved giraffes from Kenya to Kidepo, when we were remaining one giraffe. And then we had a scabies outbreak in the gorillas, and it was traced to people living around the park who had very little health care. And so many things were happening. And I thought to myself, I think I need to write a book. I remember Arthur was my immediate boss at one point, Dr. Arthur Medisha, and he was so supportive. He was like, look, a lot of people didn't understand what I'm doing, but he was always like, yeah, he was always backing me up. And so in the process, everybody got to understand what a vet does. And so by the time I left the Wildlife Authority, they were now ready to have more vets. And then I thought, I carried a big file with me, took it with me to America, where I was doing a master's and a zoo medicine residency. And I said, no, I have lots of time to write. No, I never had time to write. In America, they really keep you busy. I was working at the zoo and also doing a master's at the university, and it was hectic. But I remember shortly after I got there, Arthur sent me an email saying, we're missing you already. The gorillas have got scabies again, and giraffes have the scabies. I'm like, I think I need to go back to Uganda. And I'd only been there for 2 weeks. And then I thought, but if I keep going back, then they won't hire other vets and we won't build the vet unit. So I recommended a vet who I worked with as an intern, Dr. Joseph Okori, and he took my position fully. So I got into it, and I thought, now I have time to write, but I never had time to write. Then I met Lawrence. I really did.
Really?
And then we started an NGO. He was the first donor with $100. Each of us put in 100. Conservation through public health. And then we came back to Uganda. And then I got pregnant with Indigo. And I remember going to my friend's wedding, Arija Kairi, and we were at Kuhinjira. And her friend, I told her friend, I'm starting an NGO. She says, you can't have a baby and start an NGO. And I'm like, I think I have to. And we did. So there were so many things that happened. And then the team has grown. It grew from 3, actually 4 people, now we're over 40. Conservation through public health, gorilla conservation profit, gorilla conservation camp. And then it was getting now towards COVID. Before COVID happened, I met a book agent in UK. Then I was a finalist for the Tusker Award for Conservation in Africa. And she was so excited about my talk. She said, I'm writing a book and I want to donate some of the proceeds to your organization. So when I got back, I thought, I really need to start writing. I said, you're writing a book and you want to donate to us, but I actually want to write. I've been wanting to write for ages. And so she mentored me in it. She taught me how to develop something for a publisher. Cathy Curator kept telling me, Gladys, you need to write. So many people kept telling me you need to write. And so finally, once we got the right agent and the right publisher, the book came out. And one thing I could say is, a lot of people asked me whether COVID gave me time to write, because a lot of people, we were all in lockdown during COVID. But actually, in a way it did, but in a way it didn't, because one of the main things, and there are 2 chapters about COVID in my book, is that we were very concerned that people were going to give COVID to the mountain gorillas. Because, you know what they said, social distancing, mask wearing, and people are getting really close. So COVID was the busiest time for us at Conservation and Public Health, preventing COVID among people and between people and mountain gorillas. So again, it took me a bit longer for the book to come out, but it took 2.5 years to write. But it's been a wonderful experience. I felt like I wanted to share experiences which are unique, lessons learned, get people to appreciate conservation, gorillas, why it's important to protect our wildlife. And so many chapters kept coming in, like the last part of my book is about sustaining conservation, and I talk about sustaining conservation through tourism, but then also gorilla conservation, coffee, One Health. Then I talk about women in conservation. Both my book agents and my publisher were women who I helped me to edit. They said that was one of the hardest chapters to write, because conservation is a field of men, it's a very male-dominated field, and they told me I have to be vulnerable. I have to talk about the times, when it was hard. People looked down on you because you're a woman. They thought you couldn't do it because you're a woman. But I was lucky that I never really faced that so much because I had a unique skill I was bringing to the table as the only vet in the organization at the time. So I remember one time I went to the wildlife authorities with Mama. They saluted me. She's like, "Hey, they're saluting you." And I'm like, this is the cow, this is the hierarchy system of the wildlife authority. But yeah, no, it's been quite a journey. I know some things I have to say because I remember meeting a certain lady who's also a very prominent researcher in primatology. I'll say her name actually, Emily. And she said, I met her at the National Geographic Women in Conservation Conference, a retreat, and she said to me, "I'm so glad we're finally talking. I've been following you," because she used to be a junior researcher. And she told me, when you started out, a lot of the men doubted you, but they used to talk about it in front of her. And she said, "But I'm glad you proved it wrong," So, and so then you realize women do face a lot of challenges, whether it's to your face or behind you. And so that was a very important chapter in the book as well. But it's one thing I can say, it was very therapeutic writing. I felt like I was my own psychologist. Every time I finish a chapter, I feel better. Like I've been to a shrink, a psychologist. So writing is very therapeutic. In fact, even if you don't publish, just write. You feel much better afterwards. And so that was very good for me. And someone said to me, "How come you remember all these details?" I think because I kept those notes from Uganda Wildlife Authority, and some things were so vivid that I was worried that I was going to forget them. So I thought I better start writing. And actually, I was so excited when Dr. Jane Goodall agreed to write the foreword. She was now, I think, launching her 10th book or something, the Book of Hope, but she managed to write the foreword even before I finished the book, because she got an idea of how the book is going and everything. And it was a really nice foreword. She's written forewords for people, but I thought this was very, very heartfelt. And she was so excited when the book came out. She was really very excited. She's now 90. She's written so many books. But I also feel that many conservation is here, and I can't wait for Dr. Atta Bidisha's book to come out. We are not good at writing our experiences for the general public. We stick to our fields, and I think many people need to. Jane Goodall was one person who made conservation accessible to everyone. It's not just for those people in the bush, those crazy people who spend all their time walking in the forest. It made it accessible to everyone. So even when I started writing the book, I said I want it to be for the general public. I don't want it to be an academic book. And so I had to relearn how to write for the general public. The English that you forget in school had to come back. Because as a scientist, you're told you have to be objective, factual, you're not allowed to put in emotions. Why are you saying the chimpanzee was happy? How can you prove the chimpanzee was happy? So now I had to bring back all my emotions and learn to write stories, turn it into a story. So that was a very interesting experience for me, and I found I actually enjoy writing, and I hope that I'll write more books. But talking about a favorite chapter I'd like to write, a favorite phrase, I can read this one. After I became a wildlife vet and beyond, my mother, despite her fears for me, supported me always. She visited me in Budongo Forest to follow chimpanzees, and later allowed me to take her to the gorillas in windy, impenetrable forest. I have never seen my mother wearing trousers, and she was probably the first person to trek the mountain gorillas in a skirt. In 2000. The people digging in the gardens excitedly shouted out to her, "Mukekuru, old woman, why are you going to see the gorillas?" My brother and sister had also tracked the gorillas at separate times and jokingly complained that I brought the gorillas closer for our mother, who had a shorter hike of 45 minutes to get to the gorillas, while it took them 4 hours. The park rangers and tourists were also thrilled to meet her and walked extra slowly to make sure she kept up with them. She was amazed and reassured to see that the gorillas were gentle vegetarian giants. something else I was saying. Like many parents, the pandemic brought challenges and gifts. As a result, Indigo and Tendo have participated in the trainings conducted with the park rangers and village health and conservation teams, and have become experts on COVID-19, particularly Tendo, who actively contributed to the discussions during the trainings with the rangers. For World Gorilla Day, he wrote an article about COVID-19 and gorillas in the New Vision national newspaper, Children's Photo magazine. Tendo also started a backyard chicken farm at the age of 11 during COVID-19. When he was 15, Indigo wrote his book about being a junior zookeeper at the Uganda Wildlife Education Center. I saw in him the spark that was nurtured in myself at his age. I am delighted that my children are doing interesting and important things in their lives, and hope that I've inspired them in the same way that my parents inspired me to pursue my dreams regardless of the challenges I faced. They inspired me to do my part through my work with gorillas and other wildlife to change the world for the better.
Thank you so much, Gladys, and to all of you. I will give the last question to Indigo, and maybe we'll have a moment for just one or two questions, because I see that our time is fast spent. And I know that you'd love to buy the books and have them sign them today. So to you, my dear.
And actually,
Yes.
for you, sure thing. Just to let you know that I am recording an audiobook.
Ah, wow.
I'm reading my book.
Yeah.
Actually, my book came out on Amazon, and they got somebody to narrate it without telling me. My publisher's been wonderful, but at that point, they were having a changeover from my main editor. She was leaving. Actually, the person who edited my book, Lily Gordon, is amazing. Together with Naz Hassan, the book agent. And Lily Gordon was about to leave the company. She had been there for 30 years or longer, about 20-something years. And when they told her about this book, can you help to edit this book? She prolonged her stay at the company. She thought this is going to be amazing. And she keeps on following us. She's amazing. She even asked me to write another book based more on the veterinary experiences or other things, because now she's doing it freelance. But then she moved. And then in that transition, they got someone else to narrate the book who I didn't approve of. I think she did a good job. She's a Kenyan actress. And as you know, the Kenyan accent is very different from Uganda. Do we agree? Yeah. It's just different. I try to explain to the Americans, it's like someone from the north narrating a book from someone from the south of America. You know, American accents are completely different from the north and the south. And so when it came out, Indigo and Tendo were like, no, Mama, that doesn't sound like you. And we tried to tell them, could you pull it down? I'm ready to narrate. They said, no, the people are already buying the audio, and it's not the time to pull it down. It has to keep going, and people are liking it. So people who didn't know me were like, they liked it, but people who know me said, you need to do read your own story. So we're almost there. I think we have 2 chapters remaining. And Sozi, please stand up. Sozi is the person recording the Stone Age pictures. And everybody else, Vincent, everyone else from the Stone Age. Please stand up. Yes, thank you all. They're helping to record the book. And so that will be the next launch. And I'm sure after that, more people narrate their books. We're inspired by Michelle Obama. She won an award for her book, and she narrated it so well. And I think it's much more powerful when it's the author narrating the book. Thank you.
Thank you, Gladys. So to you,
And it's
Indigo.
going to go on Audible. It's going to be replaced by the Kenyan lady, the Bagreed, on Amazon.
Fine.
It's replacing with my voice.
I'm glad they've done that. What do you hope readers will take from your book, and will you write other books? What are you thinking about that?
So, what I hope readers take from my book is that, first of all, I didn't think I would write a book. So, maybe to try just embrace different things, even if you don't think you're going to do it in the first place. Then I would say that something I didn't think I would also do, the experience itself, I just used to go to the zoo for fun, just to see animals play in the playground. But then being a zookeeper is actually different from being a spectator there. It's very different. So, like one time we were taking the photo shoots for the book, and I remember I don't think he's here. Mr. Makune was hoping we would take the photos, but we were in the exhibit of the shoe bills and the crested crane, and I held the seeds in my hand, and I was putting it on the canopy, and he was supposed to take a picture of me doing that, but he was delaying. He was saying, stand still, take the right shot, and then he was delaying, and the bird was getting hungry. So the bird picked my hand and I jumped, fell down the other side. Yeah. So that's just some of the things that people don't see as a spectator. And if I
That's my best favorite photo in the book.
let's talk about what I would say is that what I'm writing, it depends on the experiences I have. So I'm not putting myself under pressure. It depends on the experiences I have and if they're worth writing about.
Thank you so much. And I think it goes to all of us who are even contemplating whether we should write. It's like, are you going to be a spectator in your life, or are you going to jump in and do? So I hope this encourages you. I will take only 2 questions, one from one side, one from another side, and then we wrap this up so that we can actually buy the books and do the book signing. So any question or comment, it can be a comment also, it doesn't have to be a question. Yes. Good afternoon.
My name is Rona. I'm wondering, do you ever get writer's block? Then you're stuck and you can't write. It goes to the 3 of them.
Okay, and one of them might answer. One more question? Okay, if not, no. Okay, yes, I'll comment and then I'll come to the question. Yes, go ahead.
Thank you so much. My name is Veronica. I have a name Sekia as a name called her. I'm happy to meet you. So I happen to come from Cornerstone, and I happen to have read your book. I happen to have read her book. My life is, my life is a weaving, and then I've happened to look at your book. Yeah, her book, friends, let's read Mama's book. It has a lot of history, our Ugandan history. You get to know a lot of things. I've learned a lot of Ugandan history just because of reading her book. So, and it's good to read. I personally have started learning reading, because there is a lot of information that we get from reading, and there's a lot of information that we miss if we don't read. So let's keep reading. Thank you so much for encouraging us to read. I got Anka is the one who brought us the books in our library. So we have those books for reading program. Our students read your books, and we have biographies, Mama's biographies in our library, and then we also have your biography in our library. Thank you so much for inspiring us. May God bless you so much.
I didn't see you guys. Go ahead.
This goes out to Indigo. And Gladys, could we, because Mama can't move to schools, but could we encourage schools? Could this move out to schools such that the schools we want to learn how to read. We love the gossip here. You know, if we know there's a fire, we text about the fire. We'll not text about the zoo. We went to the zoo in the 80s, and we haven't gone back to the zoo because we don't know what is there. I was going to the zoo in 1984 when we were going with the Obote's children to go and visit the zoo before the coup. And so, I'm saying, why do I go back and see at the zoo? Is there anything new? But the encouragement of what I hear is motivates me to take my children to the zoo as well. But could you, in your program, see how the schools, you can fit in the schools for the locals to appreciate, for us to appreciate, the roots to appreciate reading? You, as a parent, Mama, Lord has put in so much into you, which you put into Indigo. How about, can you spread the word? Can you plant the seed for the other generations? Because all these other children may see, they love the pictures and this, but we need to encourage, just like we love the gossip of the bad news. Can you help us learn the gossip of something good?
Thank you.
Yes, my name is Babidi Katene Bajida from Aristoc. My question also goes to Indigo. It's very much tied into what you were asking. In Gayaza, we used to say never give up. I want to ask you practically, this generation, how, in a very social media filled generation, it's all about commenting even before you think. How can we practically, I want to direct this question to you because of your age group, how can we practically get more people within that generation, or our generation as well, to get inspired to write? Because when you write, you have to think, you have to revise what you've written, you have to research. So there's so much that goes into that. How practical is the keyword? How can we practically get more people your age to do this sort of remarkable thing? Thank you.
Thank you so much. So Indigo, you take your two, and then I'll give Mama the last one.
So, when you think about it, I think young people need to have experiences to write about. Because also they don't know what to write about. They can't just write about anything that comes to their mind. So I think encourage them to have experiences like going like trips and stuff, that are not in normal day-to-day lives. That's what I would say. And also for people to encourage them to write and support them. My book in schools, I think my books can just be put in schools' libraries for them to see and get a feel for writing, and know that the writing came from their country.
Gladys, over to you. And then I'll ask Mom the last very brief question.
I think I'll answer Lona's question on writer's block. Yes, I got writer's block several times. I really did. And sometimes you have to feel inspired to write. But sometimes those moments don't come. And you just have to write. Because you've been given a deadline. You want the book by this time, you have deadlines. And sometimes when I was feeling like I'm running out of motivation to write, I would go to the internet and find out why do people write? And they're like, oh, it's therapeutic. I said, yeah, actually, I think I need that. I need to, and they could tell you all kinds of things. But the people who are hardcore writers will tell you it's a discipline. You wake up, you write. You say, I'm sitting down and for 2 or 3 hours and I'm writing, wherever, 4 hours, whether you feel like writing or not. And something else that I learned about writing was when you write something, you have to review it so many times before it becomes what it needs to be. My nephew, Willie Kalema, who's based in America, is a lawyer, he sent me 2 books one about how to write well and how to write about your life. And he's always said that thing about, by the time something comes out, you've looked at it several times, My book was supposed to be 400 pages. But my publisher said, no one can read a book 400 pages. So she edited it. I had to take some good bits out, and the edited version is much better than what I had given her. And so in writing there's a lot of, you have to keep reviewing and writing. But one other thing I'd like to share about writing is, when you start writing, people start saying, who's your audience going to be? You start thinking, who's my audience going to be? Is it going to be conservationists, tourists, whoever, for my case? But this book about how to write well tells you, you don't know who your audience is going to be. Don't limit your creativity and your story to who your audience is going to be. Because you don't know who your audience will end up being. If people see that you're passionate about what you're writing about, they'll love it. They'll love your book, whatever the subject is. I know there's a lady who wrote about, we both got an award at the same time in Wings Wild Quest. I got the Humanity Award and she got the Courage Award. And she had written a book about snakes. She loves snakes. In fact, when she came for the event, she had just been bitten by a snake. And her arm was kind of crippled, a bit crippled. And I remember Mama saying, wow, because in her speech she said, if you think women are marginalized, what about snakes? And my mom came for the ceremony, she could not stop laughing, because Mama is so scared of snakes. Like most people in Uganda, most people in the world. She's like, ah! So it's really, but because she was passionate about it, Mama read her book, I read her book. So yes, just be passionate about what you're writing. Our audiences have even ranged from, people we don't expect, I've given a talk in churches, 2 churches. Lawrence, remember, we're giving speeches in 2 churches. And one of the ladies said, it's a someone in Durban, she said, I want you to just talk about your book, because she had seen an book event at the Uganda Museum. Reverend Michelle Brown, she's a friend of Reverend Diana Kwesiga. And they got me to speak there. We spoke in a church in San Francisco. And I talked about the book, and there was a sermon in Karen Clopton. So, and then there was a Buddhist at the service who said to me, can you come and do an event? I'm like, Buddhist? Okay. But I guess people link animals, nature, spirituality. But one of the most special comments I had is during the book signing, someone said to me, can you sign this book? It's for my daughter and my son. And I said, do they like animals? They said, my daughter likes animals, but my son likes animals, but my daughter, I just want her to dream, believe that she can do anything she wants to do by reading your book. And so I thought, yeah, it's worth writing. When you hear such comments, I feel great that I wrote them. And of course, when I see tourists coming and saying, I read your book, I'm now visiting the Mubare group you talked about, I bought it in Canada, I'm so excited to meet you, and learn more about the gorillas. All of that makes me feel great. It's worth it.
Mama Rhoda, you're going to give us the final word. And so it's up to you. What is on your heart for us as we go away from today? The final word for today. You're wrapping up the meeting.
I wanted to just say something about Semu's comments.
Okay.
We've spoken in many schools, and school kids get their parents to buy the book, and it's been great. International School of Kenya was one of the best events, but we've also spoken in Geneva, the international school, and St. George's School, where Nina Wanande's Milne's son goes to school. So it's been good speaking to school children, and we want to speak to many more. Indigo's been to ISU. He's spoken at International School of Uganda because he was a former student there. Would love to go to schools. I actually went to a school with Kani. Kani's in the audience here. Kani, could you stand up, please? He's my outgoing personal assistant. He's been replaced by Brenda. But we went to a school in Port Poto and spoke to the children there near Kibale National Park, and they were so excited. So yes, we want to keep going to many, many schools as much as possible. Yes.
So, Mama, the last word from you as you send us off to buy the books.
Want me to say something?
Yeah. And very brief.
I should say the last one, but we just, I said to you. The first word I'd like to say, it should not be all about us or about the three generations of authors. It should be each one of us has got a story to tell. I think I said somewhere in my book, what we only need is to really look into your life, write, get some, when you look up, but you are going to excuse me. Or let me just say, maybe many of you know it. I remember reading many years ago that the basis of our education and people civilization are 3 hours. The 3 hours. You may be surprised what are these. These are writing, it seems to drop W. Arithmetic, it drops A, and reading. So one must have those the 3 hours. Now, unfortunately, and I say to my grandchildren, when they come to my house, you find a lot of paper. I read papers every day. I must buy my papers every day. This week I was very disappointed. I couldn't find Observer, and yet the Observer was very short copy. But they don't want you. Reading must be very, very big part of your lives because you know more. Please do read and do write. Do write and do read. And I feel sorry, much as I believe the ICT has created the world to move really fast. The ICT more, you know more than I do, its benefits to make the world really move. Countries connect each other within a minute. I remember when I was launching my book, and our friend, William's schoolmate, was in Toronto. I had not put on the mask, and he called him. We were there at Mr. Sandra. He said, William, Mama has removed it. Mama has removed the mask. She must put it on. He was in Toronto and I was in Sandra. That just shows the benefit and the excellence of the ICT. Well, that being said, ICT should not replace writing. Should not replace writing, my dear. At first sight, when I heard the introducing computers in primary, I said, oh no, not yet. Let children start to write fast. Let them use, because the writing works with the brain. That's what I believe. It works with the brain. And this, I can't remember what I did on my typewriter in 1945-46. But I can remember what I write with my pen. So, read writing, please continue to write. And I am sure also will find that fewer people now buy pens. And buy writing paper. I'm not certain, but it may be possible that fewer people buy pens because they can get everything here. They can read the Bible, and even the Bible are not being read and not being bought much because everything is on the internet, it's on WhatsApp. Well, that is fine. It is handy. The WhatsApp is handy. I agree. We can't work with the Bible all the time. However, reading reading and writing must continue. And for goodness sake, take this message to the Minister of Education, Mama Janet Museveni, and Dr. Chris
Muyingo. Dr. Muyingo. Muyingo. Dr. Muyingo. Education.
Dr. Muyingo, sorry, who has schools himself. Dr. Muyingo, please don't introduce computers in primary school. Let children first write, learn to write. They can't write, let them write and read what they can write what they can read. And it will come, the computers will come. My grandson here is the one who does a lot of my things. He didn't do computer in his S6 at Budo, up to S6. He did sciences, but he didn't do computer then. Several years ago. Now, after training for some years and at university, now he's the one who is collecting they send everything, all my messages go through him and then come to me. I send them my message and they go to my family. He's already very efficient, but he can write, his handwriting is very wonderful. Please let children write.
Yeah.
And you write. The other thing, please read. Read newspapers. People have come to my house and they say, hey, this is a library. Because I believe in reading. And I just share with you that I have books of this kind of my kingdom, the Cyber Administration which he wrote. The important thing here, just a book written and refers to other people, to other states. Then you are able to know. I'll give you an example about my father and cyber, just one example. My father, Martin Luther Silva, when he was Katibu,